Good evening. I'd like to call to order the regular board meeting of May 7th, 2024. Our first item on the agenda is the flag salute, and I believe we have Colt Marsilio, who's going to lead us in the flag salute. If you could come to the podium and have everyone stand.
Please stand. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. It's always nice when we have a student do it. I'm going to. Thank you. We have nothing to report out of closed session. Oh, sorry, approval of the settlement by a vote of 3-0. The board approved the settlement with the student. Approval of tonight's agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Thank you. Student
Aye.
board?
Aye.
Thank you. We're going to pass over approval of minutes.
We
And
need to table it or just skip it? How does that work?
We're going to table it until next
Okay,
meeting.
okay.
The April 16th minutes. Staff board communication, Dr. Stepp.
Madam President, we have two members of the team to welcome, so if you'll join me at the podium, we'll welcome them, and then we have a student to recognize. Madam President, members of the board, it is my pleasure to welcome two new directors to the team. First up is no stranger to Las Virgenes, that's Kristen Marsilio. She'll be our new Director of Pupil Services. As I said, she's not a stranger. She's been in Las Virgenes for 24 years, currently serving as a special education program coordinator. She's been a special education teacher, administrator for the past 2 years under Angie's leadership. As I mentioned, she's been our special ed coordinator. She was 5 years as assistant principal at Agora, 3 years activities, 2 years curriculum, and special education when she very first started with Las Virgenes for a total of 17 years. So congrats, Kristen. Welcome to this new position.
Kristen, I've known you a long, long time, ages us both, but you are always student-centered. You do so much for the students you serve, and I'm so excited for you to be in this position. So on behalf of the board and everyone at the district, get to give you your official. Thank you. Here we go.
Sure. I have with me my oldest son, Colt. And right now, which may or may not be being watched on video, my younger son, Ryder, is playing a baseball game, a playoff baseball game coached by my husband, Jeff. So they wish they could be here, and I'm thinking of them tonight. I appreciate Colt being here and doing recording video. It's been an honor and pleasure to serve Las Virgenes for all these years. I feel very fortunate to have been mentored by amazing administrators and staff along the way, but a special thanks to Angie, because I feel along the way you've led me to each place that I've been and taught me so many things. But everybody really in this room has impacted me a great deal, as well as our staff across the district. It's an honor to work for and with everybody, and I'm looking forward to these new challenges and new aspects of the position, and working with Angie as I continue my leadership here in Las Virgenes. It's an amazing place to be, and my children are part of the district, and I drop them off every morning, and I'm filled with gratitude that their lives are touched by all the people that mine have been for so many years. So thank you for this opportunity. I'm looking forward to all that comes with it. Thank you.
Do we have an update for the score of the game, Ms. Marsilio?
We do. We have Marsilio with a 10-3 lead, and this is not just any game; it's a playoff game. This is big time haps up here.
Little people playoff.
And it's Marsilio versus Cyprus.
Versus Cyprus as well. Now we've got a
Versus Cyprus.
This is a Ryder versus Tyler showdown in the playoffs.
This is so Cyprus is getting a beat down.
Yes. Yeah.
Can we edit that part out?
I think the Marsilios and Cypresses combined are batting 1,000 though, so the boys are doing a nice job.
Excellent. For folks watching at home, in case you may have been worried by the appointment of Kristen Marsilio, Ms. Falk is not going anywhere. She's not retiring, she's simply moving to be Assistant Superintendent for Ed Services, so, which creates the position for Director of Pupil Services, the vacancy there. Second director welcome tonight is Dr. Kelly Scott. She'll be our Director of Secondary Education. Kelly currently serves as the middle school principal at Beverly Vista and Beverly Hills Unified. Before that, she was a high school assistant principal at Huntington Beach, where she oversaw activities and athletics. Prior to that, prior to her time as a site AP, Kelly worked as a coordinator for mathematics and STEAM instruction. Your experience is also as a math teacher, emphasizing the M word here, as we work hard and diligently through our math adoption. She was a math teacher at Aliso Viejo Middle School. She's currently an adjunct professor at Concordia and holds a PhD in education from Chapman. Dr. Scott.
Thank you, Dr. Scott. I had the pleasure to meet you last week. I am so excited on behalf of the board and the district to welcome you. You have an impressive background, and we're so excited for your energy and your ideas and all the great things we know you're going to bring to our district. So,
Yes, thank you. I have Todd here, my partner, and he's videoing for my twin and my older sister that couldn't make it. And I am just so thrilled to join this team and this family. Everyone that I've met so far has been so welcoming and just a testament to the family and humanistic approach of this district. And I am beyond thrilled that I got the job. I can't wait to get started.
And next up, we are going to recognize a fantastic young man I've got a chance to spend a little bit of time with, Zachary Peisner. Come on down, Zach. And we'll have Principal Wutke with me as well. So this fantastic gentleman, music director Aaron Cohen, sent me an email about what Zach has been up to. So we wanted to bring him to the board and recognize him. He has performed with the California All-State Ensemble. He was selected the 2024 California All-State Ensemble with 1,000 school districts across the state. He performed in their orchestra at their state convention in Sacramento, and he wasn't just selected this year. This is his 6th consecutive year.
Wow.
I don't even know how you do that. That's amazing. That's worth applause right there. Next, National Public Radio has a program called From the Top, and it features outstanding performances and captivating personal stories by talented, classically trained youth musicians from across the country. It's broadcast on nearly 200 stations nationwide. Zach was selected as a fellow for NPR's program From the Top. As a part of the fellowship, Zach performed a piece and was interviewed by Peter Dugan, the host of NPR's program From the Top. His interview, if you're interested in it, is performance number 444. And along with his extensive musical accomplishments as a bassoonist, which is a very difficult instrument to play, it's a double reed. I could only handle a single reed with saxophone. Double reeds are double the trouble. Along with being an amazing bassoonist, he also has a 4.6 GPA and is going to Harvard University next year.
Yeah, I don't have like a speech prepared or anything, but I just wanted to say thank you so much for having me today, and I really appreciate it. Yeah, thank you.
we love having, what an amazing accomplishment. Take a picture with the board. Come down. Also, Dr. Stepp, if you could have the link to, so that we can all listen to
Number 444.
number 444, that'd be great. So, very excited for
If the
you.
board can join us for a photo, that's you. And we'll get principal in there too. You promised to come back and perform for us at future board.
Yes.
I played a few times.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Thank you so much.
You too. Congratulations. I know, that takes a whole team.
You're welcome to stay.
I mean, you can't. But I didn't even know you could get a 4.6.
Yeah, I know.
All right. I think we left off with staff comm.
Yes.
What do you got for me, Jim? Fired up. All right, we have the awards right here, the certificate from the California Department of Education, recognizing Las Virgenes as outstanding attendance area, specifically SARB, Student Attendance Review Board. Madam President Cutbill went along with Ms. Falk and Ms. Rosen up to Monterey to the award ceremony, so I could appreciate them taking the time to travel up there last Friday, I believe, was when that occurred. These are just attendance. The state has an interactive attendance calendar together up there, and just to share a few of our districts nearby, you can see we jumped in between 21 and 22, 3.5%, that's Manhattan Beach next to us, and then Oak Park, Conejo, Beverly, Palos Verdes, and San Marino. So just a small sampling of districts around us, but outstanding work in a short amount of time. And Dr. Gleason, the most important part is students being in the classroom, with their teachers, with their classmates receiving instruction. Along with that, the financial benefit to this improved attendance, so ballpark number would be?
Roughly $1 million. So definitely when students show up, we have more resources to provide great programs and services for students.
State pays us when kids are here and not when they are gone for any reason whatsoever. Next slide, Jim. All right, we had some of our amazing educators recently present at the California Association of Asian and Pacific Leaders in Education. At the statewide conference, Principal Dr. Jackie Duncan, Assistant Principal Stephanie Moncada, Elementary Director Janet Davenport presented 2 workshops that focused on providing support to Asian American educators in California schools. The conference was well attended. Feedback on the presentations were, of course, because of this amazing group of educators, was super positive. They're also joined by Julie Peck. She's a 6th grade teacher of English history at A.E. Wright, and Helen Yap, Mandarin teacher at Agora. Had a blast representing as well, and we appreciate them being a part of the California Association of Asian and Pacific Leaders in Education. Agora had its Rhythm and Chew festival just last weekend. Beautiful day, as you can see for the photos. Left is the Agora Jazz Band, right is Lindero Jazz Band. All the middle schools perform, including AC Stell. So it's a fantastic fundraising event. They've moved it to the outdoor stage, which I think is a much better location from the parking lot where it got really hot on the asphalt. There's shade. So it was a blast. Hopefully the music boosters did some excellent work in raising funds. Next slide. Just had our tribute to educators, a phenomenal event in the Calabasas Pact, nearly, I think, well over 400 folks in attendance. We had our 2 employees of the year. This is Miss Hatfield at the podium right there. She's pretty far away. You can't see her, but you can see her on the screen behind her. Beautiful evening. Started off the evening with Madam President Cutbill addressing the crowd. Started it, gave it the right vibe. Wonderful evening of celebrating retirees, our educators, teachers, classified support staff, and our micro-credential folks. A lot of fun. Every year the event gets better and better. Next one, Jim. Yeah. So I do get out and meet with the high school students several times a year. So just in the last couple weeks, I met with Agora on the left and Calabasas on the right. We talked artificial intelligence, how students are using it effectively and ineffectively, how teachers are using it effectively. Ineffectively, we talk security, counseling, bell schedules, graduation requirements. It is always a joy getting out and listening to the students. And of course, our 2 principals are there, Garrett Lepisto, Principal Lepisto, and Principal Wutke. Next slide. Just last Friday, you want to have their talent show. They invited the Expendables to be a part of it. The Expendables are on the right-hand side there. And we had almost an 80-person choir. We had 60 members of the Yerba Buena Elementary School choir. They're in the red shirts, kind of in the middle. And then Agora choir members on the left in the black shirts. So it was a joy to sing, to perform with them. We did the song Africa from Toto. And listening to the young voices was a blast.
You can do the cold sparklers in the pack? I'm just, oh, sorry. I assume that's the wild, that's the YB Bobcat, that's not
Correct.
Winnie the Pooh.
No, that's our YB Bobcat. And yes, he's also standing in front of sparklers.
Okay,
Yes, we did cold sparklers in the pack.
okay, sorry to call that out.
No, that's my favorite moment of the entire night. It went very well.
Okay.
Everything was safe.
That's great. It looks like they had a good turnout.
We put one of the most adult people I know in charge of the sparkler systems, which would be Miss Davenport.
There's room for improvement.
Okay.
Offline, we'll share some better stories. I think that's it. Mr. Klein, what do you got? Oh, no, I think we're all done. That concludes staff communication, Madam President.
Okay. Thank you. Ms. Westerberg.
Madam President and members of the board, Calabasas and Agora High School have been very busy recently. At CHS, we recently concluded our at-lunch 3v3 basketball and staff for student basketball tournament. Students are beginning to apply for ASB commissioner positions, and interviews begin next week. We also had an ice cream social last week where students could come get ice cream after school. This week we have AP exams. We wish all those who are testing good luck. And in honor of Teacher and Staff Appreciation Week, CHS is hosting a donation drive for supplies and a breakfast on Thursday, and Agora has put hearts all around their campus. Next week, we are having our second multicultural banquet of the year at Calabasas, our commitment day for seniors, and prom. Prom is being held at the Majestic downtown, and the theme is Casino Night. Agora has been keeping busy with AP testing, fundraisers, and preparation for events. AP Gov and AP Chem were the first AP tests of the season, and both ran smoothly. Film Fest is this Friday, where students' films are premiered, and the movie night for films was held last week, where the students' trailers for these films were played. There have also been many fundraisers, such as successful Mendocino Farms restaurant fundraiser for the sophomores and a Baskin-Roberts fundraiser for the freshmen. The cultural fair was a huge success, and prom was held on May 4th at the Baltimore Hotel with the Great Gatsby theme, and everyone looked amazing. We are looking forward to the events coming up at both high schools.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lawrence?
I'll forego for tonight.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Mingus.
I just want to give a shout out to Agora High School for putting on a fantastic performance of Legally Blonde. I'm always blown away by the talent of our high school students. And I also want to give a shout out to the middle schools. It's open house season, and I was able to go to AC Stell's open house and also AE Wright's open house with Ms. Cupbill. And it's always such a pleasure to be able to go into the classrooms and see the great things that our teachers are teaching our students. And then give a shout out to the foundation, who not only supported us at the Tribute to Educators by doing the program for us, but they also are planning on June 8th to do Casino Royale at the Canyon Club. And I hope people can join us there and look at the foundation's website. They have an online auction that's going to be starting soon if it hasn't started already.
Okay, thank you very much. I will forego comments so we can move right on into the rest of our fairly full agenda. I have no speaker cards, so nothing from the audience regarding items not on the agenda. So moving into consent A, we have quite a number of things. Any discussion, or I'll entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve today.
And I'll second.
Okay, student,
Aye.
board?
Aye.
Thank you. Consent B.
Make a motion to approve consent B.
And I'll second.
Thank you. Board vote only. Board?
Aye.
Thank you. Action items. First item, approval of award of contract to Covered Six Security Services.
I think we'll hand the next multiple items over to the ever-capable hands of Dr. Gleason.
Madam President, members of the board, as the board is familiar with, we issued a request for proposal for security services. We had 8 firms who had responded. After scoring all of the proposals and conducting interviews, staff have scored the proposals and recommend that Covered Six be issued the contract.
I thought we already did this last year.
We did
redo
this
every year?
Actually, we did this a couple years ago when the Prop 56 grant was present. Now that we have armed security, we needed to reissue a new RFP to stay compliant with public contract code.
This is our last, we don't have to do this every year though, right?
No.
Okay, so we
No.
can stay with
The
Covered
initial
Six.
proposal was for unarmed, so that
Oh,
was
okay, so this was,
a
so,
material change in.
So
Okay.
that's why we did have something
Okay.
on the agenda that
Okay.
was about armed.
Yeah.
okay, okay.
And so the only reason for a new RFP would be if the contractual renewals expire.
We didn't change the parameters, all right? We're still only three folks, one at each high school, and then a floater.
Correct. Accepting this RFP, those are the parameters we laid out, but we could always add to it. The RFP is not binding.
That was my next question. So if a funding windfall came in, or you found a grant money, we wanted to add 4 more officers, we wouldn't have to rebid.
Absolutely.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. Student board member?
Aye.
Board?
Aye.
Thank you.
I would just say, I've heard nothing but good things about these guys. So I think from a standpoint of, it could go one of 2 really it could go one of two ways. And it clearly went the way that I think they've really melded into the culture well.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Worked hard to make good connections with our students. Item 2, approval of Resolution 1923, authorizing staff to compromise and settle up to $50,000.
Madam President, members of the board, as the board is very familiar with, but for the public watching at home, the board approves all settlement agreements. The LA County Office of Education is enacting a new unique policy where some of our settlement agreements that are below $50,000, they want to have board approval prior to issuing the warrant. Doing this would put us potentially out of compliance with the timelines, specifically for students who are supported by the Individual Disabilities in Education Act. Therefore, staff are recommending that the authority be granted to the superintendent and myself to be able to authorize the issue of warrants up to $50,000 with prior to any board meeting, knowing that the board will always approve at the upcoming board meeting so that we can follow through with timelines.
Thank you.
So I don't love this one. So can the board, after you say yes, vote no when it comes before the board again?
I think some
What
context.
situation does that cause from a legal standpoint?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is one thing that's frustrating for staff is we've always done it this way. We've always been able to, Ms. Falk, if you could hum a few bars maybe on how these settlements work, especially with students with disabilities, and how if we don't have this authority, the potential consequences.
So when we mediate with a family, we reach an agreement. Prior to it coming even to anybody else, that agreement is signed by both sides. So we sign an agreement, the family signs an agreement. If, for instance, somebody rejected that down the line, it would put us in legal liability because we have on paper agreed to that with the family.
But doesn't your agreement say you're signing an agreement pending board approval?
It would now. It has not
Okay.
previously.
Okay.
Yes. And the
So-
fact, the one that you,
So in the past, you would sign an agreement on behalf of the Board of Education and it wouldn't say pending board approval?
on behalf of the district, it was never required in most
It's
districts
a
in
new
the surrounding.
LACO thing, right?
Well, most districts in the surrounding area and in the state do not require board approval, especially for special education settlement agreements. This is LACO's policy that has been, according to them, in effect since 2013. We were never notified of it or enforced it, but now we're being asked to do
LACO
that.
has suddenly decided they're enforcing it, so,
So I'm
for everyone.
I'm kind of less concerned about the special education ones than I am about the, I'm not gonna give examples. The other ones, that we all know what they are, that we could put over here that I think the board, so maybe walk me through an example where it's not you don't have to give me a specific example, but walk me through the process where the board is not, it's not a special education issue where it's cut and dry. It's a litigation potential, and we've decided to settle for 50 grand. And you reach a settlement agreement. You have this blanket approval from the district that says it is the board has blessed this. That still comes before the board again, or we don't ever see that?
It comes in the form of a purchase order approval.
But for non-special ed settlements, typically those are run, I mean, in every example I can think of, they run through the board in closed session prior, and usually I will seek, or cabinet will seek, an approval range
Yeah.
or ceiling. So the board, if I'm doing my job right, the board knows all about those and has essentially pre-approved that kind of a deal before it even would come under this. I think the goal for this resolution was only special education.
This is really, it's because we will fall out of contractual and settlement compliance for students with
I'm all for that.
disabilities.
I would love for it to have said that, actually, that
We
it's
can
only
add
for
that, I think.
special education compliance issues, because I think it might signal open.
That settling is happening when
Correct.
it's not
But
right. Yeah.
that's my concern. That's the
I'm fine with
background
adding
there.
special education.
Yeah, so the board, could you do an amended, could you?
I'm happy to approve resolutions 19-23 as amended. Ms. Fox
To
language.
reflect,
Only applicable to special education settlements.
yeah,
Is that will that work for?
yeah.
Works for me.
Works for me.
How about student settlements, or settlements with students with IEPs?
Special education.
Okay, either way.
I would put special education.
Okay, got it.
Okay, so amend that language appropriately.
Thank you.
Okay, this is a board-only vote, so board?
Aye.
Was there a second?
Oh, there wasn't?
I'll second.
Now board vote. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. Sorry, scrolling back up. Number 3, approval of Resolution 2023, transfer of funds from Fund 01, which is the general fund, to Fund 14, deferred maintenance for the fiscal year 23-24. Dr. Gleason.
Madam President, members of the board, for any interfund movement, best practice is to have the board approve. Originally, a resolution was brought before the board in the fall to move annually. We move $1.25 million from our general fund to Fund 14 to support our deferred maintenance needs. When the news of the COLA came out in December, we held off on that transfer until after our second interim. And just to be very prudent, because it's been 7 months since that resolution was passed, we're bringing it back before the board to allow us to initiate the transfer prior to the close of books for this fiscal year.
It's pretty straightforward.
Yep.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Thank you. Student board member?
Aye.
Board?
Aye.
Thank you. Number 4, Resolution 2123, authorizing the issuance of 2024 general obligation refunding bonds.
Madam President, members of the board, have a New Year's resolution to do lots of resolutions, so there's a lot of resolutions tonight. I apologize. The district has the opportunity. We are always, a commitment that I know this board and our superintendent has made to the taxpayer is to ensure that we always refinance whenever possible for that in ways that are beneficial to the taxpayer for the bonds that they have blessed upon the district. We have refinanced our Measure R and Measure G bonds in 2011, 2013, 2014, and 2016, saved our taxpayers $12 million. Given that we have a set of bonds from the Measure G and R era that are have 8 years left on the repayment timeline, our interest rate, even though where interest rates are now with the 8-year timeline, the interest rates would be low and would save the taxpayer anywhere between $1 and $1.5 million. This will have no fiscal benefit to LVUSD. Dr. Stepanowski and I are scheduled to secure a credit rating again with Moody's tomorrow. But again, this would be passed on to our taxpayers as a continued good faith for all the bond funds that they've blessed us with over the last few decades.
Thank you. Any questions? Again, fairly straightforward.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank
I'll
you.
second.
Student board member?
Aye.
Board?
Aye.
Thank you. Resolution 2223, authorizing the establishment of Fund 40, Special Reserve for Capital Outlay Projects.
Madam President, members of the board, what we're bringing to you tonight is something that is a recommended, that we're recommending that will benefit the district 8, 10, 12 years out. So with one thing, in hindsight, we may have learned with our performing arts and education centers is when you build two, both start to deteriorate at the same time. And so we're about to, with our Series A and B sale bonds with Measure S, we're about to put turf and solar, of course, the new Agora pool. When all those capital improvement projects occur at the same time, then we run the risk 8, 10, 12 years from now when all starts to need capital repair or replacement, that there could be a general fund impact. Many districts around us have established a Fund 40. A Fund 40 allows for you to draw on that fund when you need capital repair in ways that do not impact the general fund. The recommendation from staff is to establish that Fund 40. And spoiler alert, Resolution 2323 would be to move $3 million from Fund 21-1, the bond fund Measure S, into Fund 40. It's one of those tricky things because we have bond funds today that certainly we have more projects that we can utilize, but down the road, 8, 10 years from now, when we have a general fund, potential general fund impact, this would be a tool for who's ever sitting at this dais to be able to utilize to protect Prop 98 dollars for kids.
Absolutely. I would like to say I wish we'd had this for performing arts centers because when we have rigging or things, lighting, sound, it's a high-ticket item and it hits us times two. So this does seem a prudent way. We've talked about it in
Yeah,
facilities, but.
I like this fund a lot.
Yeah.
I'm just curious as to, maybe I'm missing a beat. If we just left the money in the Measure S account, that money can still only be used for facility improvements. In 8 to 10 years, we could still draw upon that money from that account to make the improvements, the capital improvements on the 12-year-old pool. What is the financial benefit or accounting benefit of creating a whole separate account for money that's already an account that is seconded only for facilities as of today?
Yeah, it's a good question. You certainly could leave it all in Fund 21-1. I think the challenge is we'd be making this move as a board and as a staff to position to who's ever sitting at this table 10 years from now what the intent of those funds were. And so when it sits in Fund 21-1, I can share with you there's 10 different people who've already spent it in
Yes.
terms of the
Yes.
projects. And so
It's-
putting it in Fund 40 protects us. Additionally, one thing.
Can it be moved out of that fund by some future board and put into another, I mean, I'm saying, I get that it's a flag.
Right.
We're saying the intent of this elected board in 2024 is to spend 1% of the 300 million on whatever it is at this point in time.
It gives it a big hoop to jump through. The board would have to take action as a board, right, to move things out of and to,
Yep.
and it would certainly cause questions if that's put aside for
But
the
could
use
they
of-
still use that Fund 40? Seems very broad, right? They don't have to use that money for the pool that we put in now. They could use that for a roof that hasn't been replaced in 30 years. It's for any capital outlay project, right?
For any, it can't be used for deferred maintenance, it'd be for any capital repair or replacement, but to Ms. Cupill's point,
What's the difference? So it can't be done for deferred maintenance, but it can be for repair? What's the difference between those two?
it couldn't be used for painting the building. It could be used for a new roof. It can't be used for let's say the turf needs new infill. It can be used to replace the turf. Does that make sense?
I mean,
Interesting.
you're not wrong, Mr. Lawrence, in that it is like, it's like the old Christmas club accounts that
Yeah.
you used to get, or am I aging myself, what people did in the 60s. The money is just coming from your bank account and going in to
Yeah.
pay. But it is a clear intent from us now to set aside to.
And the only way to get it out
You're
of
not
Fund
wrong, it's moving, it's just,
And the only way to get out of Fund 40 would be to take board action, so the board would have oversight over. Another thing just to consider is when you're spending 85 million at a time, we're trying to maximize as much construction as we can now. And so what happens when we have a project that goes 2 million over the $85 million draw, and we don't have a Series B sale for a year or two? The board can enact that using a Fund 40 transfer to be reimbursed to ensure that there's no impact on the general fund.
Okay. Good. I'll make a motion to approve.
thank you.
I'll second.
Student board member?
Aye.
Board?
Aye.
All right. Spoiler alert, 2323, transfer of funds from 21.1 bond fund to Fund 40, special reserve for capital improvement and
I'll
repair.
just save you the time. Motion to approve.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. Student board member?
Aye.
All right.
Board?
Aye.
Aye. Approval of Resolution 2423, authorizing designees for approval of summer construction projects and change orders.
Madam President, members of the board, we do have a lot of work happening this summer with solar and turf and roofing and much, much more. And we also have no board meeting between June 18th and August 13th. And without a board meeting, we can't accept bids or approve change orders. So a common practice we've used in the past is to ask the board for authority for the superintendent or myself to be able to accept bids or approve change orders only for the period of June 18th through August 13th, 2024, to ensure construction projects are seamless.
I'll make a motion to approve 2423.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. Student board member?
Aye.
Board?
Aye.
Okay. Resolution 2523, entering into contracts for labor and service with Sea Clear Pools LLC related to repairs for the Agora High School small pool.
Madam President, members of the board, one day, people will be talking about the great earthquake of 2024 that hit Thousand Oaks. So February 9th, 4.3 earthquake hit Thousand Oaks. I remember finally I was taking a test actually during that earthquake. That earthquake caused damage to the small pool at Agora. Good news is, of course, as we've talked about in past board meetings, we were replacing the Agora pool. And we thought we could just fence that pool, the Agora small pool, off until we rebuilt the new pool. The challenge is the crack has become bigger. And the way those two pools are, the small and the large pool, are mutually dependent on each other. They cycle water back and forth. So that large crack is creating a loss of 10,000 gallons of water per week. So we need to fix it fast. And under public contract code, we'd have to go out for 60-day bid process, which would just lead to a lot of challenges. So the Ed Code allows, if the board approves by a majority, to secure an emergency resolution, given that this is an emergency circumstance, to begin the work with Secular Pools to mitigate this leak.
When we say that pool's on its last legs, it really is, yeah.
Yes,
Unfortunately, we were hoping to get to the finish line with it, but
it's on its final lap.
Do we
Yeah.
know how much the Seaclear contract would be?
I don't have that in front of me, no. I do not.
Can I ask a dumb question? I don't have the experience you guys will have on the, but do we have insurance? And I asked this, like I had two neighbors whose pools cracked because of this earthquake, and their
Right.
insurance is covering it. Their pools are being replastered by their insurance company because of the insurance. So do we have like an insurance policy that covers us in acts of God earthquakes?
We don't. We have insurance. We have a robust insurance through ASCIP, but earthquake is an exclusion, as is a pandemic, which is a spoiler alert for the next item.
So is earthquake something we can't supplementally get? I mean, I'm just curious.
We could. The deductibles are so high on an earthquake policy, as well as the premiums in California, that the cost benefit analysis is it's not recommended, because let's say in the worst case scenario, and we saw this with the pandemic, right? You have this act of God that impacts the whole state. That's where FEMA or Cal OES would come in and provide fiscal assistance.
I'm maybe a Friday letter. I would just be curious to Ms. Mangus, how much is this costing us?
Sure.
And what would earthquake supplemental have cost us per year? And would it have covered this? And I asked that largely because we're about to spend a lot of money on two brand new pools at both sides. And
well, it's not just pools. I mean, you think of what could happen in PACs or
Yeah.
in a gym or a classroom. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'd just be curious to know.
sure. You got it.
Thanks.
You could research it and put it in the Friday letter.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Thank you. Student board member?
Aye.
Board?
Aye.
Thank you. Approval of Robert T. Stafford Disaster Relief and Emergency Assistance Act and Cal OES designation of authorized agents for disaster grants.
Madam President, members of the board, I'm sorry to keep spoiling these items and the previous items,
It's okay.
but in the great, we had, as this board knows, is very familiar with, a number of incidents between 2017 leading up to the pandemic, including some storms that affected the Lupin Hill area, the Woolsey Fire, of course, and the great pandemic of 2020. We've been working with FEMA and Cal OES to seek reimbursement for the non-covered, so insurance doesn't cover fire, and our insurance does not cover wildfire nor pandemic in terms of the losses that we incurred. And so we have a $400,000 check that's coming our way, provided that we can check all the boxes for Cal OES and FEMA. And in going through this multi-year process, shout out to Ms. Beater, who's been quarterbacking this, they needed us to have this resolution with this language that declared the applicants that are authorized to sign off on closing out this.
Can I ask a just random question to make sure we get it right?
Sure.
The resolution shows passed on this 7th day of May, 2024, and it has Jill's name on it as well. Do we need to take her off because she wasn't here, or is she there because she's clerk and she's signing it?
We should take her off.
I was gonna say we should take it off.
So I'll make a motion to approve this with the change that we replace Ms. Mangus with Jill Gaines on the signature item.
Yep. Good catch.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Passing this resolution would allow us to continue the multi-month process. So every day I go out to that mailbox and hope that $400,000 check is there because we spent that out of the general fund several years ago.
Good luck.
Yes. Okay,
So I believe Mr. Lawrence moved,
Yep,
You
I
did.
did.
and I'll second.
thank you. Student board member?
Aye.
Board?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Getting lots of busy work stuff done here. Good stuff. Public hearing, Las Virgenes Unified School District and the Las Virgenes Educators Associations, joint initial reopeners for the LVUSD LVEA contract agreement. Open the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to, do you want to do it now, or do you, I forget when do you do it? After or before?
Yeah, this is.
It's at your pleasure.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
And I'll second.
Thank you. Board?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We have no one wishing to speak in the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to.
Does Mr. Cyphers, Dr. Cyphers
I
want to say
forget when we do
something?
this. Do we close the public hearing and then you tell us what it is and then we
Yes.
vote? Yeah, so I'll make a
We
motion to
close.
close the public hearing.
And I'll second.
Thank you. Board?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Closing the public hearing, Dr. Cyphers.
Madam President, members of the board, as part of the collective bargaining process, we encourage an inclusive approach that invites the public comment. This is the initial step that we take to open the negotiations process. The district and the LVA have agreed to present initial proposals in a joint format for the board and public's review.
Thank you. So that is the presentation of joint initial reopeners for the, oh, no, sorry, yeah, for certificated contract. Okay. Any questions? Any?
I'll make a motion to approve the presentation of joint initial, I'm not going to say the whole thing. I'll make a motion to approve.
And I'll second.
Thank you. Board?
Aye.
Okay. Public hearing for Las Virgenes Unified School District and the Las Virgenes Classified Associations, joint initial reopeners for the LVUSD LVCA contract agreement.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
Thank you,
And I'll
Board.
second.
Aye.
Aye.
No one's here to speak on the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
And I'll second.
Thank you. Board?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Ms. Chambers?
We're back to, okay.
Yes.
Madam President, members of the board, as part of the collective bargaining process, we do encourage an inclusive approach that invites public comment on the contract proposals between the association LVCA and the district. District welcomes community input on the proposed articles that LVCA and the district are bringing forward for our upcoming negotiations.
Okay, thank you. So, presentation of the joint initial reopeners for the classified contract.
I'll make a motion to approve.
And I'll second.
Board?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Moving on to information items. Revision to Board Policy 1330. Ms. Falk?
Nope.
No?
Dr. Gleason.
Dr. Cleese?
These are revisions to facility use,
He needed a
board policy, and
Does
administrative
anybody else
language.
work here? I mean, come on.
Yep. We could have Ms. Falk do the item for you. As part of our standard procedures, we review our facility use fee schedules, do comps with other districts around the area, that sort of thing. And of course, when we do that, we also review our board policies and ARs that guide the board policies. This has gone before the, I believe, Facility and Finance Committee as well. Dr. Gleason.
Madam President, members of the board, we bring the board policy and the administrative regs as an information item tonight as part of our two-tiered approval process, provided any feedback that the board offers tonight. If the board would like to move forward, we would bring the board policy back as a consent item at the next meeting. The philosophy behind the change in our facilities fee, board policy, and administrative regs is we have athletic and our facilities are oversubscribed by our community. We are fortunate to be able to serve and support our community in having our facilities, and at the same time, we incur a burden of cost with respect to use and depreciation of the facilities. And we have different types of users. We have many of our users who support our students directly, and then we have users who are nonprofits but are not supporting LVUSD students directly. And looking at other districts around us and their board policies and their approach to facility use, they differentiate the nonprofits between those that support LVUSD students or those that support district students versus those that support maybe adult leagues or other agencies. So the goal tonight, staff are not asking the board to approve a new fee structure. Certainly the intent would be that would follow at a subsequent board meeting following the continued vetting of our Finance and Facilities Committee, but rather the conceptual approach to bringing a facility use fee structure to the board. And the recommendation of staff, the change is really splitting out the two tiers of the nonprofit status. And with that, knowing that this had a lot of committee work behind it, we'll address any questions you might have.
Yeah, no.
I have a few. First, thanks for all the time and effort into this, and I appreciate the meeting we had, I think it was 2 weeks ago. I appreciate the fact that, I think two big things that I really like about the thought here, going back to the previous conversation of making sure that we are forward funding facilities with a reserve. This is making sure that we're not caught off guard and haven't raised funds for 10 years, and then all of a sudden a nonprofit group gets hit with a 40% increase. Like, nobody likes that, it's not good for anybody, so you can plan around this. I think that's great. I also appreciate our dialogue about, and I believe it was a shared perspective that nonprofit groups whose primary focus is to serve LVUSD students should have special status. And by special, I mean special compared to a nonprofit group from, Los Angeles that wants to set up shop here. Like, if their mission is to support LVUSD students, we see value in that. So I appreciate that. My question would be on the Tier 2, the qualifications for the third item. 503 organizations whose event is not charging a fee, open to the public, non-exclusive, limited to 4 hours per week, and is serving over 50% of USD students. Where would the group be who is the theater arts the theater arts program that's coming in and doing 2 days a week at an elementary school for enrichment, and then using the MPR for 3 shows at the end of the season? They charge a fee, but it's a nonprofit, and they might be slightly over 4 hours a week. So do they get bumped out of this Tier 2?
No, they would qualify under number 4, the bullet right below.
Okay, so got it. Okay, so that's helpful. So basically,
So who is number 3 is what you're asking?
correct.
Who falls?
Is there an
under
example of
that?
someone we have here today who'd be number 3?
Yeah, just.
I can't think of an example of a number 3. I can think of a hypothetical. You have a sports league that is charging a fee. That's a nonprofit. They are not affiliated with us. They haven't gone through the long-term contract, and they are going to. Even though they're supporting our students, they're not an affiliate. They haven't gone through that vetting process.
So just based on reading this, why wouldn't, I'm not advocating they are, I don't want them to be, but why wouldn't AYBA be number 3 here under this one? Well, they would fail to clear this threshold. So where?
Because we have a separate.
There's a separate
we have a
JUA.
separate JUA.
So our AYBA, under the Civic Center Act, AYBA has made significant donations to the district in terms of capital improvements. And under that, when you have invested in the district facilities, you can engage in a joint use agreement that's multi-year.
Okay.
That is at a discounted rate because of your mutual contribution to the facility.
So our joint use agreements are, how many different groups do we have joint use agreements with?
Right now, we have a joint use agreement with Agora Pony Baseball, AYBA, the city of Calabasas, and the city of Westlake.
So only 2 groups whose really mission are mostly kid-focused, AYBA and Agora Pony Baseball.
I'd say that if the cities were here, they would say that how they use our facilities are for students.
Not for their adult leagues and other things?
No, we have a gentleman who is very good at coordinating nonprofit adult leagues who frequently uses our facilities, and And it's there where you see a difference in terms of impact on our facilities, but also it's not part of our core mission.
So,
The cities does have adult leagues,
Yeah.
though, I'm sorry.
I hate to ask for like hypotheticals because we always come back and bite us, but can you see a parent, a student-focused group in our community whose mission is to serve most of our kids, seeing these guidelines and saying, I'm left out and I'm getting stuck in the higher tier? Is there an example of who that could be? I'm trying to
I think the prism would be, because our facilities are public facilities, we need to follow the Civic Center Act.
Right.
What do you do when you have someone who wants to utilize their facilities that's, you're not sure what their core mission is, you don't want to provide the same rate because you haven't vetted them thoroughly? That's where I could see criteria number 3. I cannot think in the last few years of who would be 3. Most of our groups are 4.
4. Yeah.
Really, this policy is really trying to differentiate between adult use and student use.
Which I really appreciate. My last question is, what threshold is required to become district approved enrichment? So if a PFA picks somebody who's a nonprofit that comes in, is that district approved, or do they have to go through and have our really high insurance premiums they have to carry and a bunch of other things?
It's the latter. So we make sure that they're insured so that we're protected, and that also that they're CORI certified. So that means that they have the means to ensure that all of their staff can get the DOJ fingerprint clearances and tuberculosis clearances to be able to be with our students. And so we have this with Growing Outdoors, who serves a number of our schools. We have it with the Cool Club at Mariposa, the YMCA, the Boys and Girls Club. And so it's those, and for entities that cannot get that, they can go to those entities
And piggyback on it.
and piggyback on it.
Okay, great. Well, again, I appreciate it's a hard needle to thread, and I appreciate you finding a way to make sure that we send a clear message that if your mission is to support our students, we want to make it as easy as possible to do that. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we wanted to clarify the policy behind it, and then you can overlay whatever those fees happen to be and how they are structured. But this makes so that everyone just slots into where they fall. Any further discussion? Any questions? No?
Thank you.
Okay, revision to administrative reg 1330, any?
The conversation we had with the BP, for those watching at home, the administrative regs just expand upon the board policy, but the
Right.
same philosophy is outlined in the agenda item.
Right, we added vaping to smoking.
Yeah, and it follows the CSBA recommended standard.
Okay,
Maybe just go back and, effective today, change the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts naming you have in the
Yeah, oh,
policy.
yeah,
Because they
I know.
changed their name today.
Oh, would they change it to?
Scouting of America.
Scouting of America, we'll do that.
yes. Okay, well, that's our final item, so we are adjourned.